Welcome to the inaugural edition of the fastest 2 minutes in sports, where each week we'll cover everything happening in the Indianapolis GAA. I'm your host, Brian Mathis, and each week I intend to give you a recap of the past weekend's games, highlights, and scores. We'll also talk about upcoming club events, as well as getting some guests in here to join me. Each week we'll wrap up with my prediction for the next week's game in a segment we're going to call Beat the Swami. Each week we'll be keeping track of my results and comparing them to the predictions coming in from the rest of the club. We are playing for a bottle of fine Connemara whiskey. What better way than to combine gambling, drinking, and Gaelic sport? So the first thing that I'd like to do is go over this year's 8 teams and their sponsors. Connors, probably our longest running sponsor, is headed up by Dave Reardon and Haydar Thordarson. They're bringing along longtime club members Louis Landman and Brian Church. That makes that a really tough team. A new player on that squad this year is Colin Riley. Watch out for him. They're going to be a tough squad. Another one of our great sponsors is the Good Earth. Good Earth is led by Rudy and Mike. Rudy and Mike are international champions and probably the best captain pair on any of our teams. They make that team tough with their experience right off the top. And then you add Todd Klemp, Drew Hambrick, and Andretta to that squad, and you've got one tough group. Look for Sarah Zimmerman to be their new player of the year. Claude is led out by Jeremy Pugh and Duncan. They've got Joey Landman in goal, and this year in your program book, he's going to be going as Harry Henderson. I don't know why, but that's what he's doing. Owen Reed's going to be scoring for him from the middle, and Sarah Saft will likely be their new player of the year. She's an Ironman competitor. We'll see how she does on the pitch. We've also got Pogues Run on the docket this year. They're led by Nate and Jacob, Woody White anchoring the defense in the back, and Tim Boyle running the middle. This is the youngest team of any of the 8, and so they're looking for some new folks in Jordan Anderson and Adian Catlier to really contribute. Next up, we've got Renners. The Wreckers are led by Chris Ludlow and Stephen Cox. They've got Ty Bremer doing some scoring for him, and they've got Nick Wilson up front. I don't care what you say about that kid, he can score. Danny Jorgensen is likely to be their new player. Hellsource is another team coming back this year. They're led by Kieran Connery and Keith Healy. Cha Chaplin will be up in front scoring for them, and they're anchored in the middle by Tommy Smith. Look for Mark Lozier to be their player. And by the way, Hellsource is the oldest team that we've got in the group of 8 at an average age of 33.4. We'll see how their age and experience works out against all the injuries they're likely to have throughout the year. As part of our club, as our new part of our club this year, we've got the 2 Gingers coming on, and they're led by Philly B and Reed, with Fagan up front scoring for them, and Brian Chernish in goal. Look for Laura Barnhart to be their new player of the year. They're a team that has the most women of any other club. Keep an eye on them and their camogie players. Finally, we've got Upland. Upland is led by Tim Cabine and Sam Doherty, and Upland is coming in for one of our longtime sponsors, Pat Flint, who's recently retired. Little John's in the back for them, and look for Ryan Solomon to be their breakout player of the year. So now that I've gone ahead and given you the teams for the year, it's time for the Swami to give you what I think are the final regular season standings and odds to win the championship. First off, we've got Hellsource at 2-1, followed up by Good Earth at 3-1. 2 Gingers is right behind them at 7-2. Connors is 4-1. Upland right behind them again, and a really tough call at 9-2. We round up the rest of the group with Pogues Run at 5-1, Renner 7-1, and bringing up the rear, we've got Claudia 8-1. Those are my predictions, but we all make the playoffs, and anything can happen. Now on to this week's matchups. So for the 10 a.m. game, we've got Claudia versus 2 Gingers. I'd look for 2 Gingers to go ahead and take that game. On the next field, we've got Pogues Run versus Health Source. We're going to go ahead and take Health Source by just a point in that game. In the 11 o'clock games, we've got Good Earth versus Connors. I'm going to go ahead and take Good Earth. Their experience is just tough to beat. And finally, we've got Upland versus Renners. I take Upland in a squeaker. And finally, we have a Gaelic Athletic Football League starting on Sunday. I don't think the teams are set yet, but bet on any team that has Dave Reardon. See you next Tuesday with this weekend's results. See you on the pitch.